This House is in session. I first want to welcome members of the Youth Parliament to this Honourable Chamber. I hope that you will find the debate today enthralling and that you will learn a lot from your experience, a lot in terms of what to do and what not to do if and when you become and aspire to be a member of this chamber. There might be some things that you might see happen from time to time. Some will be in your best interest and some might not be, as it relates to behavioral patterns exhibited by some of the honorary members in this chamber. You are all adults, so you would know what to do and what not to do. I just want to wish you a pleasant day in this chamber. And after the lunch break, and there are any questions that you have, feel free to pose them to myself or members of this chamber.
Announcements by Your Honour.
Minutes of the meeting held on Friday, August 12, 2022 to be confirmed. Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the aforesaid minutes be confirmed.
The questions that the aforementioned minutes be confirmed. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. The aforementioned minutes are hereby confirmed.
Messages from Her Excellency the President. Petitions. Papers.
Honourable Member for Christchurch, please.
Mr. Speaker, I am commanded to lay the response to the Auditor General Report 2021.
Government notices. Private members' notices. Notices of questions. Report from select committees. First reading of bills. Statements by ministers. Congratulatory and/or victory speeches. Personal explanations. Motions for leave of absence. Or replies to questions. Notice of motions for adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance. Orders of the day.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of standing orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42, subsection 5, 43, and 44 for the remainder of the days.
The questions that the aforementioned standing orders be suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. The aforementioned standing orders are hereby suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting. Government business is the order of the day.
Order number 7, sir. Order number 7, in the name of the Honourable Minister of Finance, in the Ministry of Finance, Economic Affairs, to move the passing of the resolution to approve in accordance with Section 4 of the Debt Conversion Counter Guarantee Act 2022-12, that Parliament approve A, the counter guarantee agreements with the Inter-American Development Bank and the Nature Conservatory of up to approximately Barbados $300 million to enable the government to buy back or prepay more expensive existing debt on the terms and conditions of the agreements. B, the conservation funding agreement for the purpose of paying the net savings over 15 years to a local trust which will manage conservation work. And C, the environmental and conservation commitment under the Conservation and Sustainability Commitment Agreement.
Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I beg your permission, sir, to read this order number 7 in conjunction with order number 8, given that both resolutions, Mr. Speaker, are inextricably linked.
The question is that order number 7 and order number 8 composed of a cognate debate in that they are inextricably linked. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
Thank you very much again, Mr. Speaker.
She had mentioned it to you? She had mentioned it to you?
Yeah, she called, just called me over.
I mean before.
No. Business. We commit to announcements, sir, by your honor.
I think it's important that this House stand in 1 minute silence in relation to the death of the Queen of England and the leader, the former Queen of England and the former leader of the Commonwealth. So let's stand and pay homage to.
Government business resumed, sir. Minister's phone.
Honourable for Christchurch East Central.
Thank you very much again, Mr. Speaker. I rise this morning to commence this debate very clear in my own mind, sir, that just over 4 years ago, when we came to office, we indicated that we will transform Barbados whilst we pursue the critical reforms that will see a return to proper fiscal management in order to ensure, sir, that we engineered an economic recovery that included, sir, all Barbadians. And I recall very clearly, sir, when we started this journey then, that we signaled to the country at the time that our debt, as we found it, sir, was unsustainable, very high, and the extent to which Barbadians had seen and experienced, sir, a significant decay in the delivery of a range of public services was testimony, sir, to the fact that everything was out of sync as it relates to the macroeconomy. You would recall, sir, the state of the South Coast sewage plant, sir, the sewage flowing in the street, sir, which, incidentally, sir, created, in a real sense, some harm, significant harm, to the Graham Hall Sanctuary. And as I try to contextualize what we are doing here this morning and to remind Barbadians, sir, of the journey that we are still on, that this debate this morning for the government of Barbados, sir, to execute what we shall refer to as a debt for nature swap must be clearly understood in what has transpired in this country in recent times and what this government intends to do, sir, to help transform the lives of ordinary citizens. And whilst there has been much debate, sir, or should I say discourse, in recent times in relation to the government needing to be transparent about our debt and how we shouldn't do this or do that in relation to the International Monetary Fund, sir, as I go about my daily task, sir, of trying to right-size an economy against very, very, very significant headwinds, sir, all for the most part driven by clear external factors. I want to remind the country, sir, that this administration will stay the course that we have charted since we took office in May of 2018, and that there are things that will happen along the way, sir, that will create a little turbulence, that will cause you, sir, to pause and reassess how you need to navigate, sir, in very stormy and choppy waters. And certainly, the whole world has experienced very choppy waters, sir, particularly within the last two, and Barbados, sir, is no exception. So this debate this morning, sir, is not just historic in the context of Barbados and how we treat to our debt. It is not only transformational, sir, in the nature of what we have put together with the partners to come here, sir, to execute this debt for nature swap. But it is important, sir, that in the context for which people are saying the government needs to put more information into the public, sir, which we have done under the Public Finance Management Act. But even before that, sir, we have been publishing all of the related information in relation to the Burke Plan, sir, with every review of under the previous extended funds facility, sir. That information has been fully ventilated, sir, in the context of the public. And therefore, I say for the benefit of those within this space as well as those on the outside, sir, that when it comes to transparency, publishing of information, sir, this government is perhaps, sir, equal to none in relation to what we have done, not just in this parliament, sir, but in terms of what we have been able to do, certainly over the course of the last 4 years, to be able to share and consult, sir, as widely as possible with the widest possible of stakeholders to ensure that people stay the course. I start here, sir, because for some context, when we took office, sir, our public debt was estimated at just over $17 billion, sir. 176% of our gross domestic product, sir. And let me repeat, sir. $17 billion we inherited as a government, sir. 176% of GDP, sir. And therefore, when these young persons, perhaps here in the gallery on the outside, sir, perhaps may pick up the daily newspapers recently, and questions are being asked about how is the government of Barbados, sir, going to repay the debt that we have borrowed. Yes, sir, we have. I wish to remind the public, sir, that as of the end of, this is September, the end of July, sir, end of August, actually, sir, the public debt of Barbados stands at approximately, sir, $13.4 billion. Now, sir, approximately, if you would do, sir, as we know, basic mathematics, one would come to the conclusion, sir, that 13 billion is less than 17. And therefore, when commentators are asking about how the government of Barbados is going to repay debt, I don't recall, sir, any of the people who are asking the questions about how we are going to repay 13.5 billion or so, sir. Being so vociferous, sir, when it was 17 billion and climbing, but yet the range of public services being provided in this country, sir, had deteriorated to a point where Barbadians were fed up with the government of the day. Sewage on the street, sir, garbage can't get collected, sir. You're keeping food in your fridge for weeks on end because you ain't sure when the garbage truck can turn up, sir. People couldn't get work on time, couldn't get back home from work on time, sir, because there were no buses, sir, available for people to be able to go about their ordinary business, sir. People in this country, sir, couldn't get water. For a large part of rural Barbados, sir. But yet, sir, our debt was climbing. And therefore, the context of this debate is important because the government of Barbados, sir, this government, under the BERT program, sir, determined that we will do something to address the debt because 60 cents, sir, 62 actually, out of every dollar that we collected as revenue, sir, in 2018, we had to service debt. But what is particularly more important, sir, is to understand that not just that the 13.5 billion or so, sir, is less than 17, but the interest rates at which we are paying on the 13.5 billion, sir, are significantly less than what we were paying, sir, on the interest of 17 billion and counting, sir. And therefore, from a debt sustainability perspective, sir, all of us, sir, incur debt at some point. You want to buy a car, sir, you want a fridge from in town, you get your mortgage, sir. We know, within our own personal life, sir, that when we borrow money, sir, that we would like to borrow the money at the cheapest terms. Because it means that paying back that money, sir, allows us to have a little more in your pocket, sir, to do some of the other things that you would like to do. And therefore, when this debate, sir, is put in its historical context, I want the public, sir, to understand that, yes, the government of Barbados, within the last 2 years, borrowed monies, not because, sir, we wanted to borrow, you know, sir. Not because we wanted to borrow, Because when we started the BERT program, sir, we had a program that was predicated on bringing our debt to GDP down to 60% by 2033. But COVID happened, sir. The economy lost $2 billion in 2020, sir, in activity. Almost all of the tourism workers, sir, didn't go to work, maybe 2 or 3 days for the most part, sir, of 2020, sir. All of the taxi people in Barbados, sir, were impacted. All the people that move goods and services, supplying tourism facilities, sir, were impacted in 2020. And as a result of that, sir, the government's revenue declined by $600 million in 2020, sir. Now, let me just say, for those who are commenting and for the purpose and for the benefit of the young people here this morning, context is important. Because when the debt was $17 billion and climbing, sir, there were those who said, do not restructure your debt, send home 7,000 public servants. That would cure the problem. This government, sir, determined that we will take a different path and that we will focus, sir, as a critical part of our BERT program to ensure that we can focus on people, sir, people. And yes, sir, we had to do some initial restructuring. We had to regrettably, sir, lay off a few people. But in laying off those people, sir, unlike the 3,500 that was done in 2013 or 14, sir, we put programs in place, sir, to ensure that those persons could be retrained, retooled, sir, as part of our RE program, sir, under the BERT program, to ensure that those persons will have a path, sir, back to sustainable work, sir. That is what this government did. That is what this government did, sir. No, sir. It is all about perspective. And as I say, sir, the people who are commenting now about our ability to repay $13.5 billion or so, sir, did not, in my memory, sir, were not concerned at the state of the economy in May 2018, sir, when we took office. Now, we know, sir, that we still have work to do. So this is not a case of us patting ourselves on the back, sir, because we know that because of COVID-19, sir, there are still too many people in Barbados right now who only working 3 or 4 days a week. And this government has been working to make sure that we can get the economy back up and running in a very hostile environment, sir, driven largely again by external factors. And sir, you would recall that in the last 18 months, let me remind through you, sir, the public, that in the last 18 months, we had to respond, sir, to the ashfall from the eruption of the volcano in St. Vincent, sir. Now, I want you to realize something, sir. There's a pattern here. If that was the last government, sir, they will still got ash in Barbados today because they let sewage flow on the streets, sir, for 3 years. But this government determined that we were not going to let that define us, and we put some people to work, sir, all across the length and breadth of Barbados to ensure that we can remove the ash, sir, in the shortest possible time so that we can get this Barbados economy, sir, back up and running. As soon as we thought, sir, that we were past that, you had a freak storm, sir, and then Hurricane Elsa in July, inflicting damage, sir, on almost 2,000 homes in this country, sir. And, sir, who had to respond? The government. Because people, sir, were again impacted. And I know, sir, based on their history, that they would have left those people out in the wind. We took a decision, sir, that we were going to focus on how we can get these houses repaired and rebuilt as quickly as possible. Admittedly, sir, it has not gone smoothly, but the reality, sir, we are still committed to being able to solve that. But I want the public to understand, sir, that required, sir, additional cash resources that the government had to find to be able to respond to those persons. Because at any point in your history, sir, a government has to be able to respond to the needs of its people. And as you know, sir, Shortly after that Hurricane Elsa passed, we had the Delta surge in cases in the summer. And every time, sir, as our public health posture was at the time, we were obviously, given the intensity of the virus, we separated people from the population in order to limit the spread, sir. That costs money. As the COVID response, sir, costs money. And therefore, yes, sir, we borrowed money, but we didn't borrow money because, sir, we were as my grandmother would say, sir, that we were whatless. We borrowed money, sir, to ensure that we could respond to the needs of the people in the moment. In the moment, sir. But equally, sir, with the clear focus, as is the case, sir, with respect to the reconstruction of the houses, capital work, sir, to be able to hire people, sir, from all across left and right from Barbados, to put them to work in repairing these homes for ordinary Barbadians, sir. And therefore, yes, in the short term, our debt has increased. It has. But at 13.5 billion, sir, at significantly lower interest rates, our focus now as the government of Barbados, sir, is to ensure that we can get this economy back up and running. I would love, sir, for the war to done tomorrow so that things can normalize and we can get back to some sense of normalcy so that the cost of living, sir, which regrettably, as I indicated earlier, sir, those persons that working 3 and 4 days, which as you know, sir, if you're working 3 days, that's a 40% decline in your income. 4 days, sir, is 20%. And therefore, we need to get those persons back to a full work week, sir, because with the cost of living being driven externally by all of these things that are happening outside of Barbados, those persons, sir, are clearly feeling the pinch. But it's not feeling the pinch because of anything the government of Barbados has done, sir. We have put as much as we can, sir, mitigation efforts to be able to help ease the squeeze, as you would say, sir, for Barbadians. But we operate in a world, sir, that is very, very, very hostile, very dynamic, and Barbados, sir, operating in this space, we will be impacted. But this government, sir, I am proud to say, we have responded when the call has been made for us to respond. And whilst we can't do everything for everybody at the same time, sir, we have responded. And I believe, sir, that our track record speaks for itself. But I don't want anybody in the public to fear our ability to repay the debt that we have now. What we must focus on is how we are all going to put the best efforts to ensure, sir, that we can grow this economy from top to bottom, sir. And that people are included all the way through this specific process. So I leave that there, sir, for the moment, because context is important for us to understand that the government, in executing its public policy, sir, requires financing to be able to do that which we need to do. Because whether we like it or not, sir, whilst our revenue projections are just over $3 billion for the fiscal year, the reality is, sir, is that I don't start April 1st with $3 billion saying, no, the Treasury, sir, that I can just decide, well, we can do this, and this, sir. We have to collect the money every day, every month, sir, in order to plan our expenditure, just like, sir, every household, every person that works, you know that you work in advance, effectively you're paid in arrears. It's the same with the government, sir. And therefore, in order to do things, you must be able to raise some level of financing or debt to be able to do that whilst you're able to plan the rest of your affairs. So let me come back to this resolution here very quickly, sir, because it's important that against that backdrop about and what we have done in relation to restructuring our debt in 2018, the domestic debt in 2018, sir, and the foreign debt in 2019, that created, sir, space for us to buy the trucks, sir, to buy the buses, to fix the issues on the Suez coast, sir, to be able to fix roads that were long in fixing, in need of repair, sir, for some time, and that work continues, sir, to be able to address, sir, a lot of the income tax arrears that people were owed, sir, a lot of the monies that the last government incurred, because they encourage a lot of small business people, sir, to provide services for them, and then they pay them. Outside of the $17 billion that I told you about, sir, officially as debt, there was just about $1.2 billion in unpaid bills to ordinary Barbadians, sir, that this government, over the course of the last 4 years, settled, sir. And you would recall, sir, that when I did the debt restructuring bill just across the way there, sir, in 2018, in that debt restructuring bill, sir, there was the Series F clause, sir, the Series F bonds, that at the time, based on the information that we had, sir, we set up that structure to repay persons over 42 months, sir, which you recall started April 1st of 2019. And if you count 42, sir, from April 2019, then you would come to the very clear conclusion, sir, that at the end of this month, September 2022, represents 42 months for which that Series F structure, that we, at the end of this month, sir, we will have repaid the arrears that the last government, sir, left for us to deal with, the majority of which, sir, were ordinary Barbadian businesses that they got services from and refused to pay. But this government, sir, did that all the way through the pandemic, sir. And at the end of this month, we can say that that $1.2 billion, sir, that was owed to Barbadians, that this Barbados Labour Party government, sir, would have honored the commitment, sir, that we said to the people under the debt restructuring. And whilst I accept, sir, that circumstances may have changed because of the pandemic, this government, sir, when we talk about debt transparency, sir, that is debt transparency because we, sir, determined that we will not do that which the last government did to people by encouraging them, sir, to come and provide goods and services to the government and then don't pay. So when they're talking about debt transparency, sir, let them talk about that because this government, sir, has tried its best to restore trust and integrity to the process, sir, with respect to the management of the public finances. This debt for nature swap, sir, this debt for nature swap, and the honourable member for St. Michael's South Central, the honourable member for St. Michael's South Central, but also the honourable member for St. Michael, both the honourable members for St. Michael's South and South Central have been a part of this journey with me, sir, since we announced that we will restructure our debt, sir. And you would forgive me, sir, if I use both of them interchangeably. But the reality is, sir, when we restructured our debt, we understood and we gave a commitment, certainly in our manifesto, that there were certain things that we needed to do. And we contemplated, sir, that once our debt was restructured, that we would have been able to do this debt for nature swap in the traditional sense, which would allow us to pursue some of these marine conservation efforts. So let me just explain, sir, very quickly, what this really means in the context of our debt management and what we're doing. So as it stands now, sir, as you know, and I'm sorry that I don't have because I think, can you get me a copy of the estimates? Just for as you know, sir, every year we come to this parliament for estimates, and we publish, sir, in Appendix D or E, I think it's Appendix D, in Appendix D of the estimates every year. Because again, I'm going back to transparency, sir, because there's some people, and just for the benefit of the young people in the chamber and those listening, when people talk about transparency, it sometimes is important that we understand that when information is public, and mind you, for the benefit of the public, this is available on Parliament's website. So whilst it may be a nice fact book, sir, it is important that Barbadians understand that the government of Barbados don't hide anything when it comes to debt, sir. So it's Appendix C, my apologies, sir, Appendix C of this book, and I will indulge the young people who are present here to go on Parliament's website, click on estimates, and you'll be able to get any of these documents here available. Every single loan, sir, that the government of Barbados has on its books, every one is published in this book. Every one. Also, the terms, the interest rates, everything, sir, is published in this book. So there ain't nothing to surprise nobody, sir, about what the government doing and hiding and all of that, sir. Everything is here. So I will say to those commentators, just take a little time. Just take a little time and go through and read instead of getting the paper, sir, and writing things to give the impression that the government hiding things. Every single loan, sir, outlined in Appendix C of this text. Every single one. Every single one. But I make that point, sir, because in this estimates of revenue and expenditure, within the amortization line, sir, amortization, sir, for the benefit of the public, just means you're paying back the principal, the money that you borrow, sir. The amortization line, as well as the interest payment, sir, because both are separated, every bit of interest is accounted for in this book. Every bit of amortization or payment of principal, sir, for the year is accounted in this book. And so for the purpose of this definition swap, I want to get the public to understand that if we, for example, sir, I'm not going to be, so this is just an example. If the total interest that you're supposed to pay in any given year, sir, let's say that total interest is $300 million, it is accounted for here, just for example. If nothing changes, sir, this book allows the government of Barbados, because we late in Parliament, sir, it is passed here, it's debated here, and it gives us the authority, sir, to pay that $300 million to whoever holds the bond. So in Appendix C, if you have a little piece of any of the series in Appendix C, you will get a piece of the $300 million in interest, sir. If nothing changes, it means we will pay that $300 million approximately in the year. Now, from a budgetary perspective, sir, it means that if I want to allocate monies for housing, sir, I got to find money outside of that $300 million to give to housing. It means, sir, that if I have to fix, the water authority needs some urgent money to fix something, sir, it means that you got to find money outside of that $300 million, sir, to do that. Because these monies, sir, have to be paid as they are committed. And if, for some reason, sir, when we have to pay this money, there are no resources available to do anything else, so it means that you have to look within your budget and make adjustments elsewhere in order to make those resources available. So we are committed, sir, for example, to pay that $300 million in interest. What this resolution, these two resolutions, are going to allow us to do, sir? Very interesting. We're already paying the interest, it's already committed. And therefore, the swap, which we're engaging with Credit Suisse and CIBC here in Barbados, and I'll speak to that as part of the second resolution, sir, is allowing us to do is to buy back a portion of the existing debt at a lower interest rate, sir. But since we were already committed, sir, to paying, for example, $300 million in interest, in exchange for buying back the debt, sir, at a lower interest rate, the commitment, sir, is that we will divert a portion of the existing interest payments, sir, to do some marine conservation work, sir, critical work that is required to be able to help sustain and build out, sir, the blue economy in Barbados. Now, it does not impact the budget of the Ministry of Environment, sir, because these are specific commitments that we are doing. And so, for example, now, sir, it means that out of that interest payment, we might be able to get 20 or 30 million, depending on how much space is created, to be able to divert into that space, just as an example. As an example. But what we are doing here, sir, just from a conceptual perspective, you're paying interest at a certain rate now. We're going to buy it back at a lower rate, sir. And therefore, the difference, the savings, is what we are saying we are going to divert now, sir, into the local trust, the Barbados Environmental and Sustainability Fund, over the next 15 years, sir, over the next 15 years, to help deal with a number of very critical marine and conservation commitments, which I will allow honourable members, the member for Christchurch West Central, and I know the member for St. Michael South will elaborate further on those commitments. But what this transaction allows us to do is to use, sir, existing debt payments that we must make. Because as you know, sir, when you put it in here and you say that you're doing it for X, you really can't turn around and do Y with it. So just for the benefit of the young people here today, the reason we are here to do this resolution is because as it stands, sir, the law says we have to pay our debt in full whenever it becomes due. And therefore, when we're talking about diverting debt now, we ain't talking about nobody can't win the money or nothing so. We are talking about the permission that this Parliament has granted, sir. When we came here about a month ago or so, sir, and we passed the Debt Conversion and Counter Guarantee Act, sir. And therefore, the notion of diverting debt, sir, is not to be in any way associated with anything negative. We have an agreement that we have made that is supported by the Inter-American Development Bank, sir. The Nature Conservancy as partners within the guarantee that allows us, sir, to use those debt savings over the next 15 years to do additional work within the marine and the environmental space. And therefore, as a responsible government, sir, we have been looking for avenues to be able to execute this. But let me just stick a pin there, sir, very quickly, because the reason it's taken 4 years, sir, because it's important. Remember I said this technical conversation started when we announced that we were going to restructure our debt because we knew an opportunity would arise. Ordinarily, sir, when a country restructures its debt, it usually would say, sir, you know, you're in trouble. You need some help. So the signal to the market is something that is less than confident. Now, you would recall, sir, we restructured our domestic debt end of September of 2018, and we launched the debt exchange in October, and everything was wrapped up nice and neat, sir. Within a 2-3 month period, all the terms were agreed. By the time, sir, we settled the external debt in 2019, as you recall, sir, we had already met the primary target of 3.5% surplus at the end of March 2019, and we were well on our way, sir, to achieving the 6% primary surplus, which, as part of the original BERT program, were the critical targets to be met. And as you would expect, sir, having come to office, the truth is, we were new to government. The people on the other side of the table, sir, were still doubtful about whether Barbados, and certainly this government, will be able to do that which they say that they wanted to do. And therefore, as we continue, sir, to perform and do that which we said we will do, the International Monetary Fund, sir, in publishing their reviews, confirmed or validated as an independent arbiter that Barbados we were doing, sir, what we said that we would do. The confidence, sir, the confidence by the external creditors was quite extraordinary. Because normally as I said, when you conclude your debt restructuring, people want to get back the money fast. So they're prepared to sell, sir, at a discount very quickly to be able to get out, because people's focus in a debt restructuring when things looking a little queasy is that they will say, look, I can take 80 cents on the dollar, I can take 75 cents on the dollar to get out of this here, because I ain't sure whether I can get back my money. And therefore, bond prices in a normal circumstance for debt restructuring will settle somewhere in the 80s, sir, mid-80s, lower 80s, depending on your credit quality and history. And the truth is, sir, I believe in my heart of hearts, even though it took longer than we would have liked to finish the external debt restructuring, in the end, it actually turned out to be a positive thing, because by the time we finished, the external creditors had seen what Barbados said it would do happening. And so our bonds continue to trade, sir, at par. And for the benefit of the young people, at par means $1 for $1. $1 for $1, sir. At one point, sir, the debt was trading at 101, 102, which means that people were actually prepared to pay more to get some more Barbados out on the market, sir, because the confidence was such, based on what we were doing at the time, sir, confidence was such that people were prepared to pay more for these very Eurobonds that we come here today to buy back. They were prepared to pay more in order to get PCD action. So if the Honourable Member for St. Thomas had a PCD Eurobond, sir, and the Honourable Member for St. James South wanted to get some, she would have to give her above par or premium, sir, in order for the Honourable Member for St. Thomas to relinquish that thing. That is not a normal thing, sir. And so when we finish the debt restructuring, the Honourable Member for St. Michael South will tell you, we would meet and we trying to figure out, oh boy, how we can do this thing here now, because the whole idea of being able to do this thing is to be able to buy back the debt at a lower price, to create those savings, to be able then to execute this thing called a debt for nature swap. So we had to start fresh, sir, because all through the COVID pandemic, the debt continued to trade at 101.99, 101, 100.99, maybe go down to 98, come back up to 101, 100, sir, for the most part. Only when the war started this year in February, sir, we saw the bond prices go down. But then, as things started to level out with uncertainty, the bond prices now have come back up to around 96 or 97, sir. Again, nothing that Barbados did. This is all to do with the fact that interest rates are rising and uncertainty within the context of the international market. So we had to go to the IDB and TNC, and it's taken about 2 years now of back and forth, sir, trying to get the structure right, to be able to come up with this innovative mechanism that allows for them to do what is called the counter guarantee, to be able to put us in a position here today, sir, where we can come to this Parliament, do this resolution, we can buy back, sir, through Credit Suisse and CIBC, buy back that portion of the debt here, the Eurobond as well as Series E from here. In effect, sir, reissue a new instrument that will then allow us to use, as I say, sir, the existing debt payments, those savings, which we estimate, sir, that over the next 15 years would be somewhere between 30 million to 40 million US dollars. It all depends, sir, on the exact rate on closing on September 19th or 20th, sir. The exact rate that everything is closed at will determine, sir, what those savings will be over the next 15 years. And therefore, over the next 15 years, once we close this transaction, the Barbados Environmental and Sustainability Fund will receive, sir, those debt service payments as they come due under the circumstance here. As they come due, those savings will then go in to the fund, a fund which is, no, and this is not a government fund, sir, it is not a government fund. This is a fund in which, yes, the government of Barbados has representation, but you have the Nature Conservancy, having representation on it. The University of West Indies, sir, representation on it. So this is not a government fund. This is a fund that is intended to be able to execute very specific marine conservation and environmental commitments, sir, over and above that which the Ministry of Environment and its agencies will do in the normal budgetary process, and therefore, sir, allowing us to be able to use, in a very creative way, existing debt payments to do more within building out, sir, the blue economy space. And therefore, sir, it is a transformational moment for the country, because this type of thing, sir, we would love to see right across the region, because as we have to respond to the climate crisis, sir, it means that I don't have to, for the moment, sir, hurt my head about where we can find the money to do these things. As the Honourable Member for St. Michael South every year would come and say, Minister, we need to find some money to do this. And we said, but we got to do the swap, because the money going to come from the swap. So we had to delay, and then COVID hit, delay and delay. But we are in a position now, sir, that we know where the resources will come from to be able to accelerate, sir, a lot of the work that when Barbados, I think Barbados was the first country to announce we had a Ministry of the Blue Economy. And the reality is that this now will help accelerate, sir, a lot of activities within that space. I know that there were plenty of consultations done pre-COVID. Those will continue as per usual, but the reality is, sir, this is going to be a transformation moment for the country, and therefore I hope that, and I shall repeat it wherever I go, because it is important to understand when people talking, sir, that the government ain't hiding nothing. We ain't hiding anything, sir. And therefore, for the young people listening, take the time to just do a little bit of research. Don't worry about the 2-minute sound bites on social media and the things that, if you want to know what's going on in the world, sir, you got to take a little time to come to get the right source of information. And there's nothing wrong with asking questions, you know, sir, because the truth is, I don't understand everything. And if I don't understand something, I can ask a question. Because if something is settled in my own mind, I can feel comfortable committing to something. And therefore, the government accepts that people will have questions. We accept, sir, that people will have questions, because this is new. This is new, and this is not something that happens every day in the world. This is new, sir. And this government, in promising that we will transform the way that things are done in Barbados, sir, it actually means that you got to do something new. Because if you keep doing the same things that the last government was doing, sir, then you know what would have happened to this country if we had found ourselves in that situation with COVID besetting us. You have to do something new, sir. And this government, in charting a course to get out of the situation that we found ourselves in, we got to upgrade our systems, we got to improve things, but you have to do things differently and do new things. And this, sir, is part of the new things that we are doing in this country to bring back some measure of respectability, sir, to the name of Barbados. Now, sir, the terms and conditions, and I will go through very quickly, the terms and conditions, and I speak very quickly, sir, now to the special loans, which we're also doing as a cognate debate. So 150 million, sir, Barbados dollars will be bought back by First Caribbean as part of the 300 million buyback. 150 million, sir, with respect to Credit Suisse, in order to buy back and prepare existing higher cost debt to utilize the savings to finance, as I said, sir, marine conservation in Barbados. So again, we took a unique approach, because ordinarily, sir, when you do these things, you only have one investment bank that would normally do it. But we said, sir, we're going to take a bit on the foreign side, let the international agency do that, which is Credit Suisse. On the domestic side, sir, CIBC, First Caribbean, right here in Barbados, local local bank, sir, in order to execute this. Now, what is important, sir, is that Wells Credit Suisse, sir, and this is important to understand. Now, there's domestic debt and there's foreign debt. The critical part of this is that whilst we are engaging two entities, there's actually going to be foreign exchange savings for the country. Because, as I said, the diversion of both the foreign debt component, the Eurobond, to go into the sustainability fund actually means that we don't have to use foreign exchange to repay the creditors in the original context, and therefore the country actually saves foreign exchange by diverting those funds into the local trust for us to be able to accelerate the conservation efforts. And therefore, it is important to understand that the way that we have structured this actually will benefit the country certainly over the next 15 years. And even though it may be small relative to the overall foreign exchange that the country has to use, every instance, sir, where we can do more of this, it means that the country, sir, will be better off over the long term. So, Credit Suisse, sir, as I said, 150 million US term loan. There's a 42 months grace period. The maturity, as it says here, sir, September 2037. Again, 15 years. 24 semi-annual payments of 3.125 US. There's a margin of 0.95%, and the margin here, sir, just speaks to the spread over and above the fixed rate, which is 4.15 at the disbursement date. For First Caribbean, sir, same grace period, 42 months. Term is September 2037, 15 years. There's 24 semi-annual payments of Barbados 6.25 million, 3.25 interest rate, which is fixed, and obviously other fees for arranging the loan is actually there. So nothing out of the ordinary, but significant savings, sir, and depending on where the final buyback comes, will determine, sir, how much of the savings we will actually get to be able to advance the transaction. As it relates to the IDB and TNC, sir, when we started this process very quickly, sir, we had contemplated just 100 million US when the conversation started. And it's interesting that as I speak, sir, there's a narrative in relation to how confident people are in Barbados from the outside, but there's some amongst us, sir, who don't seem to share the same view. Because as you know, sir, when people are prepared to put their money where their mouth is, then you understand the level of confidence that they have. So when the conversation started, sir, the IDB was going to put in, guarantee, sir, 75 million. The Nature Conservancy, they were going to put in 25 million US, coming to 100 million US total. Now, for the benefit of the public, sir, the IDB is rated AAA, Nature Conservancy AA. People in Barbados may recall when Barbados used to be AA at one point, and that seemed like so long ago, sir. And had not for the pandemic, I'm sure that we would have been much closer to getting back there. But that's a subject, sir, for another day. But it's important to understand that credit ratings matter, because when we get those 23 downgrades, sir, it almost seemed like every month we'd be getting a downgrade. But when we were getting those downgrades, sir, it really matters, because it speaks to your credit quality. But nevertheless, sir, these two agencies, throughout the course of our discussions and seeing what Barbados had done, even in the middle of the pandemic, sir, in the middle of the pandemic, they agreed earlier this year, both of them, that they will augment their original commitment, and therefore the IDB now, sir, has agreed to guarantee 100 million US and TNC $50 million US. And therefore, this is how we have been able to come here now, sir, to even increase over and above the original forecast savings to get to between 30 and 40 million US, depending, as I said, sir, as to the final range of the buyback, so that we can actually realize more savings. The truth is, sir, you can't want more an expression of higher confidence in what this government has been able to do, not just from a financial perspective, but more so, sir, because as we have responded to ensure that persons' needs are addressed as best as we could, given the circumstances, sir, the international community looking at Barbados and looking at the way that Barbados have been governed under the leadership of the Prime Minister for the last 4 years and few months, few months. There is a substantive difference, sir, in the mindset of people in Barbados today than it was when we took office 4.5 years ago, because there was doubt. People have seen the track record of this government, sir, and therefore this transaction, these terms and conditions before this chamber today, was you will read it and you figure, oh, it's only 100 million, it's only 50 million. There's been an evolution, sir, in us getting here, which is really a response to our stewardship, sir, of being a responsible government, managing in extreme circumstances, sir. And therefore, this story, this narrative, sir, is twofold, in my view. There are people who would wish, sir, for some reason, that the facts are not the facts. And I don't know why you would want, after the last 2 years, why you would want people to continue to suffer. I don't know why you would want that. But the other part of this is that this government, sir, in spite of the challenges, as I said, we have soldiered on. And our record has been a sharp contrast, sir, to those who are now writing in the paper every day, which is their right. But I wonder sometimes how the editors perhaps may not be as forceful, because, or analytical for that matter, because, sir, as you know, everything is connected. So when we come to the Parliament next year, sir, and produce this document in March, in this document, you will see specifically, yes, debt service, but you're going to see debt service going to, by the estimates, next year, you will see debt service going into the Environmental and Sustainability Fund. And that debt service going there, sir, is not going to cost Barbadians any more money. We're not coming in the people's pocket for more money to do that, sir. And therefore, we must understand that we are trying our very best, sir. Yes, we had to borrow to respond to the circumstances that we had. Yes, we have some issues to resolve in relation to the last 18 months and how that has really offset not just people, but create a little bit of fiscal imbalance for government because of the aggressive demand for cash. And therefore, if we didn't plan for that, sir, and I forgot to mention, sir, that we also recapitalized the NIS last summer too. Because you will remember, sir, those persons who were laid off in 2020, they had to get the unemployment benefits by law. And as you know, sir, I think it was section 32 or 33 of the NIS, if my memory serves me correctly, when there's a shortfall, who has to put in the money, sir? The government. And therefore, when you have such an aggressive demand for cash, sir, you have to find ways, not just of responding, but right-sizing your public finances, sir. And therefore, this debate this morning, sir, whilst to some may seem out of place, the reality is that we are continuing our commitment, sir, to be able to ease the burden on ordinary people and finding innovative ways of using what you already got, sir. As my grandmother would tell me, use what you got, Skipper. Use what you got. And using what we have now, sir, we are able to unlock now opportunities within the blue economy space that I believe, sir, that thousands of ordinary Barbadians, once we expose them to it, sir, will take those opportunities up. And therefore, this transaction, in my view, just like how engaging with the IMF provides a catalytic role for multinational banks to come in and help support programs, I believe, sir, that this specific transaction here today, whilst will provide those monies over the next 15 years, this too will be a catalyst for us to be able to access more resources to deal with the marine space, our environmental commitments as we respond to the challenges of the climate crisis. This will be a catalyst, sir, for being able to access more funds. And therefore, we are doing this not to pat ourselves on the back, sir, but to make sure that as we engineer an updated BERT plan, sir, taking cognizance of the fact that we've taken a hard lash or a hard cuff in our guts over the last 2 years because of COVID, but it didn't take the wind out of our sails, sir. We just paused, collected ourselves, and charted a different course on the basis of what we were facing. But the mission remained the same, sir. Right. The mission remains the same. And therefore, these two resolutions together, sir, these two resolutions together, I believe, will prove in time to be significant catalysts for how the government of Barbados is going to continue to lead, not just our international advocacy, but as we said, sir, we ain't just talking the talk, we walking the walk, sir, by being able to show people that just give us a chance. Give us a chance. And I would like, sir, the next 3 years that nothing don't happen in the world. Because I would just like, sir, they just my wish, I would just like to be able to get on with doing things so that people minds can be put at ease. But I know the world don't operate so. And therefore, whatever we face, sir, we must continue, sir, to be innovative, creative, working with all of our partners, sir, in good faith. And therefore, I'm asking Barbadians, when the Ministry of Environment, because this is, you see, sir, at this stage, when we finish this transaction, my part basically done. I just got to get them the money, and they will get the money. So we've done quite a bit of work over the last 2 years in particular, and I really want to take this opportunity now, sir, to thank, through the AG, his officers in the Solicitor General's chambers, because the back and forth, sir, with these documents to get these things done, as you would appreciate, sir, because you got a guarantee with the IDB, you got a guarantee with the TNC, you're working with the two banks, and therefore the lawyers in the middle, sir, just trying to make sure that everything that all the I's dotted, sir, and the T's crossed to make sure that everything is in place. And I really want to thank those officers for working very aggressively over the course of the last few months in particular to be able to put us in this position. As it relates to the CPC, drafting of these resolutions and getting everything in place for us to be able to do this today, I thank them as well, sir. The officers in the Ministry of Environment and the Coastal Zone and the Rooster Reefs program, I also thank them personally, sir, because whilst there is a lot of back and forth in relation to the commitments, I believe, sir, that what we have brought here with respect to milestones and how we will achieve them, I believe will be a transformational element in terms of how Barbados can become, again, sir, a world leader with respect to environmental advocacy. But I also want to thank my officers in the Ministry of Finance too, sir, because without their drive, the officers in the Public Investment Unit who coordinated with everybody to be able to get this done, tremendous work, sir, in the background that certainly over the course of the last 6 weeks or so, when everything was just coming together and you just needed to make sure that everything was in place, sir, tremendous, but you still had other work to do. And we're still doing other work, sir. And therefore, as I look at the work that is to be done going forward, I say to the officers that the hard work certainly that you have undertaken to bring us to this stage is good work, but now the proof of the pudding, sir, as they say, is in the eating. And therefore, in achieving these environmental commitments, the whole of Barbados now really has to get on board and be engaged. I know the ministry and the Honourable Member for St. Michael South in particular led a series of consultations with a range of stakeholders, sir. And he will be able to articulate, sir, some of the issues, the concerns, the positives, in terms of where we're at. But the reality is, sir, as you know, sargassum continues to be a threat. The reef infrastructure, sir, needs to be addressed. The fisheries, all of these things, sir, need to be clearly understood and managed sustainably. And therefore, as we contemplate, sir, a new vision of being able to build out the blue economy space, the work within that has to be led by the officers within the Ministry of Environment in collaboration, as we said, sir, with the university and others who will be brought on board. But we will provide the resources, and as I said, sir, this transaction will act as a catalyst for more resources to be brought into the space for us to be able to get this done. And so, sir, the terms and conditions of both resolutions are clear for all to see. It allows us, sir, to be able to access already available resources, if you like, sir, to divert, to do something else. And that diversion, sir, will be adequately reflected in these estimates so that nobody, when they come next year and ask what part of the money gone, sir, because I want the youngsters to understand, when you're looking at the numbers here, you look at the forward estimates, you will see a certain number in the forward estimates. Because if nothing changed, sir, the forward estimates remain the same based on the existing trajectory. So when next year you see the forward estimates change, the forward estimates will only change, sir, because we've come to Parliament, passed these resolutions. They will be reflected, sir, in the next round of these estimates, so that for the mischievous person out there who's talking about debt transparency and the like, understand that this government, unlike the last, and I know there will be an opportunity for us to discuss matters in relation to the Auditor General's report at a later date, sir, but when it comes to these matters, sir, I believe that anybody who will come to this place and audit what we have done, sir, will be proud to know that we've done it the right way in relation to getting these matters resolved. And so, sir, these resolutions, I believe, will be transformational in helping us to be able to better manage our resources. I could not be prouder, sir, to stand here this morning and share a few thoughts with members and the public in relation to what the government continues to do to bring about further fiscal discipline, order to the management of the public finances. And I hope that the young people who have been here today, perhaps at some point in the future, sir, will be able in 15 years' time, sir, to be able to engineer another definition swap or some other swap in 15 years' time as we hand the baton, sir, over to them in this place in order to make sure, sir, that Barbados continues to thrive and to remain, sir, on a sustainable footing. And with those very few words, sir, I beg to move that this resolution be passed.
Honourable Member for St. Michael South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. I want to begin, of course, by supporting the resolutions, but also by thanking the honourable member who just spoke for the thorough way in which she approached both the financial components and with the level of clarity that he spoke to the environmental commitments as well. And so I feel as if my contribution now could be a lot shortened, considering the justice that the minister did to both components of this bill, this resolution, sir. Before I begin, I would obviously want to thank the Ministry of Finance, and particularly the Minister in the Ministry of Finance. I would want to thank the former minister in the ministry who was responsible for a lot of the economic matters, sir. The Honourable Member for St. Michael South Central, who did a lot of work with me in the initial phases, sir. And I now would wish to thank the Honourable Member for Christchurch, West Central, who is Minister of the Environment, in whose capable hands, sir, the success of this project will now lie. And I have no doubt, sir, that he will do an amazing job in delivering to the people of Barbados, sir. This particular debt swap, sir, means a lot to me. And I must tell you, sir, as the minister who was responsible for a lot of the work in the initial phases, sir, it was one of the things that I had hoped to be able to deliver during my term as minister. And in a 3-year period, it was not, 3.5-year period, I was not able so to do, but that I am filled with joy and glee this morning, sir, because we have done for the people of Barbados, sir, particularly the people who make their living on the sea, by the sea, through the sea. We are doing justice, sir, to their cause here this morning. And for me, this has been a long time coming. But I knew that someday a change was going to come. But if you want to... St. John Raisin. Anyway, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is really... I am really happy to be here and to be part of this conversation, sir. Because when I explain in a little bit more detail this process, you will see this has not been easy. And it speaks to the resilience and the commitment of the government, sir. And I am happy to be part of it. If I were to title my speech, my very short speech, I think the minister has done very well. It would be, sir, that we today will be speaking on the principle, the process, the product, the promises, and the people. And it is important to understand all 5 of these components, sir, because it sets the context and the tone for what we set out to do, how we were going to do it, why we were going to do it, and the way the people would benefit at the end of the process, sir. So, sir, in the principle, sir, you understood as a member of this government, sir, but as a man who's distinguished himself and conducts himself with probity and integrity, sir, the principle that drove us was that at the end of the day, we were not going to place a future burden on the people of Barbados, and that we were going to conduct ourselves with a certain sense of decorum and integrity in all of our matters and in all of our affairs. And I must tell you, sir, that when we came to this ministry, there was a view held by many on the international scene, and we seem to have forgotten because 2018 we came and we restored confidence to the country, but many people seem to have forgotten that even our international brand was so badly damaged that people were afraid to do business with Barbados. And that through the immediate leadership of the Honourable Prime Minister of this country, sir, we were able to put Barbados back on steady footing, sir. And people have forgotten. And I feel it's incumbent on us in this room to ensure that people no longer forget. Because what we had to do to get to this point, sir, is Herculean. And it did not need to be so. And the fact is, sir, that as I listened to the Honourable member who just spoke before me, and the way that people are criticizing a debt that is less than the debt that they left. They are criticizing us for a debt that is less than the debt that they left. In circumstances where the reason that they found themselves in debt was mismanagement, and the reason that we found ourselves with a little more debt than we had planned to, sir, was proper management. It is inconceivable to me. And the arrogance of it, the total gall, sir, for persons who come and argue about these things, sir, when the reality is also this. And I have a feeling, sir, if you are causeless, you should talk less. And I can think of no cause that the former government can properly associate themselves with, sir, whether it is in the social space, whether it is in the environmental space, whether it is in agriculture. And when you think about it, sir, Worse yet, so in this case, they had no argument, but worse yet, when you think about what they did in the financial space, and the embarrassment and the shame in the education space, let us not forget, sir. And I feel as if we must remind the country, because in every possible area, the former government put us in this position. They put us in this position, sir, and through some very difficult waters, sir, then made worse by COVID, ashfall, and all the different things, sir, that we would have mentioned before, sir. We found ourselves having to deal with some very difficult circumstances, but built on a principle of good governance, a principle of integrity, sir, and a principle that seeks to put people first at all times. We said who we were when we did the Covenant of Hope. We said what we would stand for when we did the Covenant of Hope. This should not surprise anybody. In fact, our 2018 manifesto spoke to the blue economy. Our 2018 manifesto spoke to a debt swap. Take a look at it, sir. So we didn't stumble on this. This is not something that we woke up and say, look, we got debt. This was a strategic move. A passion project, yes, but a strategic move. A move, sir, that meant to place Barbados back in the international landscape in a way, sir, that we could feel proud. I'd heard Barbados' name being called before we came into this place. I had heard people saying Guyana won't even take the Barbados dollar, or we forgot. I had heard people saying when we go to meetings overseas, the ministers can't be found to show up and they're gone and they spend the day gallivanting. Or have we forgotten? And that when we came into office, sir, we restored not only the dollar, but we restored the faith of the international community, the regional community, the local community, and beyond restoring it, sir, Barbados now leads the Caribbean, sir, as a beacon of hope. Least we forget. And I feel, sir, that in the next few years, sir, because the opposition seem to think, as my mother used to say, that my tongue lock on the top of my mouth. That we can't speak, sir. And that we are so focused on doing the people's business that we forgot that we are in a political game. And that the problem with the Democratic Labour Party when they're in office, sir, is that they only understand the political game. And we came, sir, we do what we have to do. We manage an economy, sir. We focus on the people, sir. But if they want to fight, well, bring it. Because I know, sir, that I stand on the side of justice. And that what we are doing, sir, is fundamentally right, sir. When we started this debt swap, the guidance that I got from the PM wasn't much, you know. The PM didn't say, Minister, I want this and this and this. The PM said the people of this country must not have a burden placed on them going forward. That was it. Minister, do not place a greater burden on this country. Go and seek the best deal for Barbados. And the minister in the Ministry of Finance, sir, just laid it out. Just laid it out. We had thought, sir, this was going to be a simple process. Let me tell you, sir, Mr. Speaker, sir, when I sat down to do this debt swap, the history of these debt swaps made it seem as if countries in the position Barbados was in would go out, you owe so many people, like if I owe you $1, sir, but you know I ain't got no money. And another man come and say, don't worry about current dollar, I ain't give you 85 cents. Well, you know I would never pay you that $1. So you can take the man's 85 cents. That is the principle. We had thought people would say, well, Barbados is in this position, and somebody else would take less money for the debt. But true to the work of the Prime Minister, the honourable ministers in the ministry, who came back, sir, and led the economic recovery, sir, that was supposed to be long-term, confidence came back to the country almost immediately. Almost immediately. And while that is good, sir, for the economic component of it, it wasn't good for me. Because what that meant was that nobody was taking Barbados' debt at a reduced rate. So it was not a case where you would say, the person speaking, sir, owes you $1. And another man can pay you 85 cents. You said, no, I have confidence that I will be able to get my dollar from this man. I am sticking with this man. People decided, we know Barbados will be able to pay its debt. We are sticking with Barbados. The same people who would not have lent Barbados a cent previously, sir, because of the way the country was managed. So we restored confidence immediately, sir, to the calculation, sir, of how we were going to go forward. And sir, so when we sat down to do this, sir, there were some things in my mind that were clear. We could not leave a future burden on the country. And also, sir, that we must never sell the birthright of Barbadians, sir, to anybody for anything, because 30 pieces of silver would never be worth it, and we were going to protect the ocean space, sir, but in a way that it would have to be that the people own the ocean. The people own the benefit of it, sir. There is a poem by Frank Coleman, sir, that used to guide me when I was minister responsible for maritime, sir. It was called Ode, A Hymn to the Sea, and in his beginning, his opening line, sir, he says, like all who live on small islands, we must always remember the sea. And for all of us in this room, sir, whether we think we are in different ministries or not, whether we think that what is important is in the social sector, the finance sector, sir, if we don't get what's happening in the ocean space right, all of us are in trouble because this is really an existential threat. Barbados may not exist if we do not get a lot of these issues pertaining to climate change made right, sir. And so when we look at the leadership of the Prime Minister in this process, to be able to chart the path for Barbados, sir, not because, you know, the Prime Minister wants to go on the international stage and make these points, sir, this is important. We, Barbados, potentially, like other small island developing states, could potentially not be here. If we allow the sea to rise at a rate that is unchecked, temperatures to continue to soar, most of the fish in our ocean, sir, are already, sir, at their maximum thermal capacity. Meaning that a slight increase in the temperature, sir, will see us losing everything. All the fishermen out of whack. The coral dead. Tourists incoming. Sir, this is really a very serious issue, sir. So what has been the process? How did we get here? I must tell you, sir, when that's what was put in the manifesto and our work on the blue economy, I never thought I would be the person who had to do it. So when I came in, I had a period of immediate learning. I had to learn certain things. I mean, I'm fast to find myself up to scratch. I'm thankful to my colleagues, sir, because we were learning together, and many of them, sir, gave me some guidance on a number of important things, sir. And immediately when we reached out to the Nature Conservancy, TNC, we were able to begin that conversation about what is important in the ocean space and how do we frame this discussion on a debt swap. Sir, the debt swap was going to be, for me, a salvation. I remember there was an article written, sir, when I became minister, by a person who was said to be associated with the other side. He says not. But the article said, sir, with all the things in this blue economy and all the things that the minister wants to do and the government is promising, there will never be money made available to be able to do them. This part right, part wrong. Because our limited resources, sir, as a small island state, sir, our resources are finite. So we obviously did not have resources, sir, to do a lot of these things. And the moment any of the builders in here, the Honourable Member for Christchurch West will tell you, the moment you put anything into the sea, you're talking about 3, 4, 5 times the cost of things. It is very expensive work in the ocean. So a lot of what we were doing, sir, would be costly. I remember going to the first and the second estimates, sir, meeting with the Prime Minister and my good friend who sits to my right here, and saying that these are the things I want to do and this is how much I think it will cost, and put it into the budget. I did. Only to be told, Minister, you will get your money when you conclude this debt swap. You will get the money to do the things you need to do from the debt swap to be able to help drive them, because the government doesn't have to do everything. The government has to set the framework within which things can be done, but that the government doesn't have to be able to do everything. So when I started talking about this marine spatial plan and you know, marine protected areas and stuff and what I was going to cost, we were supposed to get it from the debt swap. And sir, because I never got the debt swap in my time, needless to say, I never got the money. But I am pleased that we now have it, and that the Honourable Minister of Environment will be able to do some transformative, innovative work in the blue economy, sir, that will redound to people. And you know, sir, the government really overperformed. And we have a way, sir, Barbadians, and this government has a way of being very humble. You know, we don't like to boast about the things we have achieved. But the government overperformed in terms of the management of the economy, sir, in those early days and in that early stage, sir. The government performed so well, sir, that the honourable member for Christchurch East Central, who just spoke, would tell you, sir, that our debt was trading above par. This is so unprecedented. In most cases, sir, when you find yourselves with an economy, sir, that was as fractured as ours was when we came in, that the former government left the economy tattered, broken. When we came in, sir, in those cases, you would expect to be able to make those deals, but we did not, sir. And when you say that your debt was trading above par, it meant that instead of people saying to me, back to our analogy, that they would take 85 cents for the dollar, people say, if you want that dollar, I know Kirk can pay. Well, sorry, I know that the honourable member will pay. You have to give me $1 plus. You have to pay me more than what is owed on the principal. This was unprecedented. So you would find that in Belize, they were able to secure their debt swap quick because the same faith was not given to Belize. And Belize was trading, I think they went in at 55 cents or 60 cents to the dollar. We were in a similar position, you know. But because of the way we managed the debt in those early days, sir, our position just shifted. This would not be on the cards, sir, if we had kept the way with the former administration, sir. And so I found myself, sir, without those resources to be able to do what I wanted to do. And, sir, we therefore found ourselves without a model. Because the model that was promised as the debt swap model, the one that I knew, and that I had spent my first year studying so well, did not work for Barbados. Because Barbados performed in a way that made that model irrelevant. Because that model depended on the weakness almost and the loss of confidence by the international community in your bonds. But that didn't happen for us. So we had to go back to the drawing board. And when we went back to the drawing board, sir, this point is critically important. When we went back to the drawing board, there wasn't anything that we built it on. The model that you see that is before the country now, that is before the parliament now, the model, sir, that we are using, sir, as our debt conversion basis, sir, is a model that was developed in Barbados that will now be used for the rest of the world, sir, to be able to do things like this. This is a homegrown, indigenous program, sir, that will bring Barbados back to its position on the top, sir. This is so transformative. Because many people had thought when the debt swap in its original manifestation and iteration did not occur, that we would not be able to get anything done at all. Sir, I must tell you, I had nights where I felt a little bit despondent myself because I could not understand how we were going to be able to provide the monies that we would need, sir, to be able to do the work that we had to do. And understand when I say, sir, that we went to estimate, sir, it meant that if I did not get these monies from one place, the monies had to come from some other place. Because we were faced with 4 options, in my opinion. We could do nothing, leave it as it is, and in 4 years, 5 years in the future, the environment, the marine space, sir, will be gone pretty much as we know it. So doing nothing was not an option. We could have borrowed the money, sir, but the Prime Minister gave me a directive, as I told you, sir, no matter what you do, you cannot increase the future burden on Barbados and on Barbadians, sir. We could also have determined that we had to create our own model. We had to go, sir, find something that was brand new, that nobody else had, sir, and try to figure it out. That is what we did, sir. Or we could have stuck with the model that wasn't going to work. We created a brand new model, sir. This is not the experience of Seychelles. And Seychelles got a lot of forward, sir, when they did their debt swap for a much smaller amount than we have done. And what that model did for Seychelles, sir, the debt swap did for Seychelles was that it allowed other people to invest into Seychelles. I am confident that this would allow other people to invest also into Barbados. It is different from what Belize did, sir. So we had modeled our principle on that idea, sir, but, you know, Barbados always different. You know, beautiful, beautiful Barbados, gem of the Caribbean Sea. with the Atlantic Ocean properly placed. But, sir, we must recognize, sir, that for us, for most of us, sir, we did not go into this thing thinking that we would have to create a new model, sir. And we had to do so. We found ourselves, sir, either we were going to reallocate resources, which meant, sir, if you reallocate resources, what does that mean in real terms? Because a lot of people probably wouldn't understand what it is that we're doing, sir. We are not taking on additional debt. We are not borrowing money to do this. We've actually lowered the burden in a way on the country because the money that would have been paid out into interest is now being used to pay for things in country. But what does this mean in real terms, sir? Sir, in real terms, this means that the money that we would have probably be spending otherwise on the environment or on health care or in education or in the social sector, agriculture, in justice, we would have had to put money there, sir, and it meant that we wouldn't have money in the blue economy, or we would have to take the money into the blue economy and lose the money on those things. So when we are able to source and locate funds outside of the country, sir, in a way that does not cost us anything. And I think, sir, if there's any lesson to be learned from this swap, sir, is that this money will not cost us anything additional to the debt that we already had, sir. This money is not going to cost us. And people will talk about the debt swap and what it is the country is doing, sir. We're not paying out an additional cent, sir, on this thing. And we are actually using the money, sir, to do good work in Barbados. This model is innovative. So in a nutshell, we will get benefits now and into the future. And we will reduce the cost in a way now and into the future. And sir, because I know we have the members of the parliament, the youth parliament here with us, sir, they can feel proud that their government did not engage in a deal that would place a future burden on them, either as citizens or on them as policymakers, when many of them, I'm sure, will make it back into this space, sir. And they should feel proud that we did that, sir, even in the face of COVID. And I also want to remind members, sir, that during COVID, when no other country was taking ships, Barbados was taking ships, allowing people to come to Barbados and get off and be safe, sir. And you may not know, sir, that even in our conversations, it was the way that we proceeded, sir, with a moral authority that actually drove some of these deals. So people were talking about what Barbados was doing even as we were having these conversations, because they too were proud of the work that Barbados did, sir, to keep people safe during COVID. So that this debt swap, sir, represents a transformation, sir. The savings on interest would allow us to do things that we could not otherwise do. So I want to thank the Nature Conservancy, sir. And I want to thank the IDB, because both TNC and the IDB came forward at a time, sir, when the country needed help, and they listened to us. And when we found ourselves, sir, without a clear path, sir, no signpost to guide us as we were going down the road, they listened, sir, and they reshaped their approach to doing debt swap so that Barbados could benefit from it. I want to thank them, sir. I also want to thank White Oaks, to be truthful, because when we were having a lot of this financial arrangement, sir, I had the benefit of being able to pick up the phone or send an email or a WhatsApp message to the people at White Oaks, sir. And they did this without placing any additional cost on the country. People talk, sir, but the money that we save here alone to be able to finance this operation, sir, is more than the money we've been paying out even to them. I want to thank them, sir, because this deal, sir, a lot of this was done in conversation with them. So I want to thank them, the IDB, I want to thank TNC. We also have to thank Credit Suisse. We also have to thank CIBC, even though they don't take on the burden of the risk, because they're really taking the risk on Credit Suisse and TNC. But it's putting faith, sir, back into our marine space, sir. And sir, what other part was in this process? Because this deal is twofold. The deal is about the financial transaction, and the deal is also about our environmental commitments. And sir, the Barbados Environmental Sustainability Fund, I joke all the time, sir, that it was to be called the best. It was to be the Barbados Environmental Sustainability Trust, but the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central stole the name. And now we're the Barbados Environmental Sustainability Fund. But the fact is, it is still the same. We, sir, are doing a setup where the fund, sir, is not only the government, and the Honourable Minister started to explain this. And I'm sure the Honourable Minister responsible for environment will as well, sir. So the Barbados Environmental Sustainability Fund, sir, will be set up. It's already set up, actually. We've already set it up. We did that work, we started that work early on, and I think earlier this year, we were able to set up the Sustainability Fund. And sir, the fund, some of the money, sir, from the first set of savings will go as an endowment to the Sustainability Fund. That fund will have as its core members the TNC, UE, and the government. And then the Minister, I'm sure, of Environment will speak to all the other members on the thing. But people can make applications to the fund. So it's not only government that is going to benefit, this will redound to ordinary people who can come and make an application to the fund to be able to do something in the marine space. So many of the local NGOs who have projects, sir, I know of a few, who have projects that they want finance can be able to do that, sir. And so why is this fund important? When I was in the ministry, sir, I remember that there was a study done through coastal zone management. And what that study revealed, it revealed two things. It revealed, one, that tourists were willing to pay money toward environmental sustainability. So they wouldn't mind putting in an extra $1 or $2, sir, toward the future of the country. They didn't mind, as long as it was going directly to the country and to the marine space primarily. But the condition to that was that it could not be going directly to the government and into the consolidated fund. So they were willing to put in money, as is the case with many people on the international stage, but that money cannot go to the consolidated fund, but that they would rather that it goes to, sir, to a setup that is managed, that is transparent, that is outside the sole control of the government, sir, but that it has built into it, sir, the tenets that will protect the money, sir, that they put into it. And that the Barbados Environmental Sustainability Fund, sir, ticks both of those boxes. I am convinced that beyond the money that we get from the debt swap, sir, Barbados will be able to finance the operations of the marine space from investment from other people, private and otherwise, because we have set up this fund, sir. I was remarking to the Honourable Member for the city that for the social services sector, we need to set up such a fund. Because people are willing to give to assist other people, but they are concerned, sir, when it goes direct to the consolidated fund. And sir, I obviously feel very proud with the work that we did with this, with both the IDB and TNC, sir. The other thing about this, sir, is that when we were discussing the original debt swap, it was only on the external debt. They had no interest in our local debt, our internal debt. So when we were doing the debt swap, sir, we would have to put it out there. We'd have a middleman, sir, in the way of TNC. We'd put the money out there. We'd put the bonds out there for resale, for purchase. And none of it would be the debt, sir, that was primarily owed by to the NAS. But in this iteration of the swap, sir, we get to cover some of our external debt, and we get to cover some of our internal debt. We get to put money back into the NAS fund, sir, fairly immediately, sir. And this was not the deal in the original iteration of this manifestation, sir, of this debt swap. And sir, so sometimes there is opportunity in tragedy. And we found the opportunity, sir, in the tragedy. And we now present to the people of Barbados, sir, a deal that will cost them nothing more, that has the guarantee of both the IDB and TNC with the AA and AAA ratings, that allows us to work through CIBC and Credit Suisse to be able to do it, sir. Everybody, sir, feeling fairly protected, sir. All that is left for us to do, sir, is to deliver to the people of Barbados. And I have the greatest confidence when I look at the work that we have already done, that we will be able, sir, to deliver to the people of Barbados, sir. If you think about what happened, sir, in Belize, TNC had to put in some equity. When you think of what happened in Seychelles, TNC basically put in all of the upfront capital. In this case, sir, they neither have to put in equity or capital, but just guarantee the debt. And sir, if you think then in terms of the cost associated with them going out there and managing it, we take all that out. That's additional money now going back into the ocean space, sir. And I said before, sir, it is extremely difficult, extremely costly to do work in that ocean space, sir. And I am happy that we will be able to have these additional savings. And I have the greatest confidence that we, sir, we designed a program and we will manage a program on the local stage, sir. I remember the former Prime Minister used to say that a country must have confidence in itself. The former member for St. Peter. I can hear him now. Country must have confidence in itself. And sir, through our program, even though we dealt with the IMF, sir, our program, the BERT program, is a homegrown program. This program, sir, for the debt swap is also a homegrown program. This is the expression of confidence in your own self, sir. And I am happy to be associated with it, sir. So what are some of the promises that we made? Because people will say this deal is too good to be true. So what is expected of Barbados as a result of this, sir? What are our commitments, sir? What are the promises we made? Sir, the things that we committed to, and this is very important, the things that we committed to as a part of this debt swap, sir, are things that we had committed to, period. Anyhow, we did not take on any additional commitments because of anybody. We were not passive recipients of the dictates of the international community in this process. The things that we committed to, sir, were things that we had committed to anyhow. We wanted to, sir, I'm sure the Honourable Minister of Environment will go through in more detail, but we wanted to, sir, to make sure that we do a marine spatial plan. I had been talking about this marine spatial plan for 3 years. 3.5 years. I had a hope, sir, that I would be able to say that, in the Ministry of Blue Economy, we delivered on this spatial plan. But I know that the minister responsible for environment will deliver on this marine spatial plan. And the marine spatial plan is very important, sir, because imagine if you were on the land. How would you go about planning anything on the land if you don't have a plan? The Honourable Minister responsible for housing and the Honourable Member for Christchurch West would tell you, sir, that if you want to do a housing development, you have to have a plan. You have to know which land is good for housing, which land is likely to slip, which areas are designated as water zones, and so on and so forth. In the ocean, and we have 424 times the ocean space, in the ocean, we have no plan. We have plans for the ocean, but we have no ocean plan. And therefore, we needed to have a marine spatial plan, sir, that set out what activities should occur where, what potentially could occur, and so on and so forth. So to have a ministry responsible for Blue Economy, as the Honourable Member for Environment for Christchurch East Central now has, West Central, sorry, he would need to know, sir, where things go. Where are we going to look at our energy plan? Where are we going to be drilling for oil? Where are we going to be putting down the flags? Which areas are going to be the shipping lanes? Where are we going to allow the jet ski operators to come in? Where are we going to allow the other local vessels that comply to the domestic shipping regulations to play their trade? All these things. Where do we want to grow sea moss, as we have now started doing? This government has started doing sea moss farming. I mean, we're doing so many things, we don't get to talk about all of them. But sir, so without a plan, you would find yourself, bundling over yourself, If you don't know where you're going, they say any road will take you there. And if it is, sir, that is the history of the former government, it is not the way we're going to do it. So first we set out a marine spatial plan. This marine spatial plan, sir, would have the benefit of TNC. We didn't have it before. It will be guided by the Coastal Zone Management Unit, sir. And sir, it is difficult for me to speak about the work that we did in Blue Economy, or the work in maritime, or the work in the marine space, and not give proper credit to the Coastal Zone Management Unit. We have in Barbados one of the most professional institutions, sir, when it comes to handling affairs on the ocean, sir, and in marine. When we were meeting with some of the consultants, when we were looking at the island, sir, we were told that Barbados has the most information that they have seen about anything to do with the ocean of any country at all in the region and comparable to bigger countries, sir, through the Coastal Zone Management Unit.
Honourable has 5 more minutes.
Really?
Yes, really.
Sorry, sir, that wasn't for you. That was
That was
a
my side.
thought. That was a thought.
I understand.
That was a misguided thought, loudly expressed, sir.
Wrongly expressed, not loudly.
Loudly and wrongly
Wrongly
expressed. And I humbly apologize to you, sir, for that.
You know the old people are saying, too late shall be your cry.
I am thankful, sir, that you are not an old person. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, the other things that we committed to, sir, I let the minister speak to those in terms of the legislation and the work that we want to do, sir. But lastly, sir, this is about people. And I feel concerned, sir, that lately we've put politics into everything. Politics is into everything. We try, sir, to talk about work in the social sector, their complaints. The work that my colleagues are doing in labor, complaining. Work in agriculture, same thing. It is as if there can be no good in this country. And you know, if a man just keep telling you bad things over and over and over, it's been my experience, sir, the best thing for you to do is part with our man. So if that's all that coming from the other side, sir, well, the best thing for the people to do is to part with them. But they did that. But the truth is, sir, if we do not change the conversation, we will not change the consequences. And if we do not uplift the narrative, sir, we will not uplift this nation. And the other side seems hell-bent, sir, on sticking to an old narrative, sir, that will do no justice to the country, sir. They stood up for nothing. And now they are standing in the way of everything, sir. And the people of this country must come to understand, sir, that we have done more in the last 4.5 years than most governments did in an entire term. Working, sir, to make sure that people... Absolutely more than was done in the 10 years. And in circumstances that were much more difficult than in the last 10 years, sir. And you know, they say, sir, where there is no vision, the people perish. And the Barbadians almost perished at the hands of a 10-year relationship with the government, sir, the former government, sir, that brought us nothing. And, sir, now we are seeking to deliver to the people of this country, sir, and all that I am hearing, sir, is incomplete analysis, sir. Really and truly, what should be the conversation for children, now assuming the place of mature conversation. And that every time I look at what it is that we are doing, sir, I feel proud of the work that the government is doing. You talk to fishermen about what they got in those 10 years, and they will tell you, sir, a bad deal. You talk to the fish vendors, the same thing, a bad deal. The jet ski operators, sir, the shipping people, sir, who play locally. Everybody would tell you that they felt they got a bad deal. Fishermen now have fads, fishing irrigating devices, sir, to be able to catch fish. We are now managing the sargassum, sir, and it's not easy. This has been a very difficult year for sargassum seaweed. But all around, sir, we are doing well. So, sir, as I close, sir, this is twofold. There is the financing arrangement, which was done brilliantly by the ministers in the ministry responsible for finance. Brilliantly, sir. There is the second part, which is the environmental component, sir, which commits us to do the things that we want to do anyway, and which I am sure the minister responsible for environment will deliver upon brilliantly as well, sir. And the people, sir, the people of Barbados can rest assured, sir, that we gave them not the best deal possible out there, that we created for them the best deal that could be found anywhere on this earth, sir, to make sure that Barbadians and the members of the Youth Parliament and ordinary people, sir, could live in this country in the now and into the future, sir. So I thank you, and I want to support these two resolutions, sir, with as much support as I possibly can. I'm obliged, sir.
Honourable Member Christchurch West Central.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to simply say that I ditto every single thing that was said by my two colleagues who spoke so lucidly before me. And I really want to start, because I could really ditto everything and sit down, because they were so sedulous in their presentation. But I want to start off by where my colleague finished his speech just now, and to say to him that I agree. It is the New Deal. It is the real deal. I know I had a Calypsonian this year who said that me I love these. But it is the Bayesian deal. For it is the deal that will seek to transform the landscape of Barbados. And I want to say also, because we just come out of the crop over season, this is who we are, man. Another song by a Calypsonian. This is who we are, not only as a government, but as a people. This is who we are. And because we can talk about biodiversity later on, because it's still in the crop over season, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to say we're doing it like a bee. I really want to say so. And the reason why I say so is that over the last 4+ years, we have sought to pollinate this country in a metaphorical way. When it comes to renewable energy, look at the transformation and growth over the last 4 years plus, thanks to the minister responsible for the energy sector. Look at what is happening in the transport sector, another way of pollinating. Look at what is happening, Mr. Speaker, with education and how we are able to give young persons the opportunity to have tertiary level education. Mr. Speaker, and then to get to the ocean. I'm not only speaking about biodiversity, but the ability for us, literally and figuratively, to pollinate the reefs and ensure that our corals become part of the sustainable development of this country. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have done in short order that which only could be imagined by some in this country. And as the Minister and the Member of Parliament for St. Michael South alluded to earlier, it has really poured cold water on all the gloom and doom being preached in practice by those who are responsible for abnormal atmospheric noises across this country. I want to say to Barbadians today that this New Deal and this Bayesian deal will not cost them a cent. It will not cost their children a cent. It will not cost their children's children a cent. The only thing we have applied with hard work and sweat expenditure over the last 3+ years when we started this deal is common sense. We were exposed to capital science in the last decade, but this is common sense, basic common sense that we have applied, and the entire common sense about it. Because remember, Parliament for Christchurch Essentials spoke about the economics. I'm not the economist. But the common sense about this is that we are, by allowing us to use the interest being saved on a deal for Barbadians, we are going to build out not only a marine spatial plan, but an ecosystems management across this country that will seek to ensure that the existential threats that we are faced as a nation are minimized and, at best, that we are able to neuter them. And I want to say that what are we talking about when we talk about a marine spatial plan? And what is important as we seek to build it out? Marine spatial plan. And first, before we get to the marine spatial plan, what it involves and the types of conversation the member of Parliament, I want to say without apologies, my heartfelt thanks to not only the minister now responsibility for the finance and economic affairs of this country, minister who sits in the Prime Minister's office, but the minister responsible who represents with ardor the constituents, the good constituents of St. Michael South, the person who sat in the chair of the blue economy, who persons refer to as the blue boy in Barbados, none other than the minister, my friend from St. Michael South, who has done an amazing job, at putting are putting this country on the map as it relates to the blue economy. And don't get tired with the colors. I am the minister responsible for both the green and the blue environment. They call me the minister for the turquoise ministry, but green comes before blue on the color spectrum. So I have to make no apologies about that. What I'm saying though, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that the type of research that was put in this project over the 3.5 years or so is one I need to speak about. We were able to gather and bring together and interfuse the geologists, marine biologists. We got our research for the oceanographers. We got persons that, and the boat operators, the minister was responsible for the ministry before, spoke about it. Jet sea operators, the ordinary fisher folk were able to make inputs as to how we are going to demarcate our ocean for the sustainable benefits of all Barbadians. Most important. And we said that we will have the conversation with the scientists, seismologists, the biodiverse specialists. That is the type of conversation we had before. And these meetings were held over a 3.5 year period or so, along with members of the Coastal Zone Management Unit. And I want to say and echo the praise that the Member of Parliament for St. Michael South, who spoke before me, sang as it relates to the Coastal Zone Management Unit. And I want to pay homage to that unit, ably led by Dr. Leo Brewster and the entire team for the amazing work they have been doing over the last decade or so in this country. And to the extent that persons are now seeking their advice across the Caribbean as it relates to marine management and the science involved in marine management. But when we talk about a marine spatial plan, what are we saying in simple terms? We start about to basically look at 5 milestones. The first milestone, look at the engagement and how we are going to start the process over the next 3 to 5 years. Because I want to say this before I get into the details, and some may call it minutiae. I want to be able to say that when you reflect on our manifesto plan, what you see being exposed today is part of the manifesto plans we made to Barbadians. And as we said before, a promise made is a promise kept. And I want to say that the ability for us to develop our exclusive economic zone is part of our manifesto commitment. And to say today that what this definition swap will be doing over the next 3 to 5 years is to allow us to demarcate in a special way where that we will allow the social, economic, and sustainable development of our people and of our marine life. Most importantly, that is part of our manifesto pledge. So, what is the Marine Spatial Plan that we are talking about? The MSP, if you want to use the acronym. The Marine Spatial Plan seeks, after the science is realized, to divide our EEZ, exclusive economic zone, into areas based on their true potential. And what we said, between milestone 1 to 5, the first thing we are going to do is to ensure our biodiversity is preserved, our high potential biodiversity and our medium potential biodiversity. And what do we mean by that? We have made a commitment and we have acquiesced to the United Nations General Assembly call to be able to augment 30% of our biodiversity by the year 2030. It's called the 2030 Vision and Goal. We said as a country, small and developing state, that we will achieve this goal once we put all our collective sinew to bear. And that is why we said, as part of the Marine Spatial Plan, looking at milestones 1 to 5, that we are going to develop and enhance 30% of our biodiversity by the year 2030. The importance of doing this. And when we're looking at areas that we will ensure biodiversity, we're looking at the way how living organisms exist in a particular ecosystem or environment, simply put. And what we have said over the years is that our biodiversity loss is impacting our ability to fight the vagaries of climate change and natural disasters. Our loss of fish stock, which is the marine fauna, has impacted the ability for our reefs to survive. And those who are responsible for my unit will tell me that under the Convention of International Trade of Endangered Species, our sea turtle, which are responsible for replenishing our reefs and providing a habitat for smaller fish, that because their numbers are depleting, it is affecting our reefs. So we have lost about 50-something species of fish thus far in the marine environment. A serious loss of our biodiversity. Not only the fauna, but the flora as well. There's certain phytoplankton and plants at the bottom of the ocean that we are seeing no more. And what these things do, because we're talking about climate change and how biodiversity and the ability for us to enhance our biodiversity is able to militate and mitigate against the vagaries of climate change. That is the conversation we are having today with Barbadians. And then what I want to say is that when we lose our reefs and our coral, we are losing the ability of our marine plants to be able to abstract from the environment that harmful carbon dioxide, which is a leading greenhouse gas. It is called the blue carbon sink. And mind you, although Barbados only produces about 2 million tons or so, small in the scheme of things when you look at the world that produces about 40 to 50 billion tons yearly, it is still enough to cause a threat on the unborn child. And on the future generation, those in the gallery that are looking over, they're hearing the conversation because they know they're paying rapt attention. They are the future. And the future and their children will be affected if we don't preserve our biological diversity, whether in the hydrosphere on the sea or the lithosphere on land. That is a stark reality that we are faced with. And what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we are saying as a government that this marine spatial plan will first look at our ability to rehabilitate that biodiversity. Find out what is there, preserve it, and allow it to take its natural function and role in the fight against climate change. That is what we are saying. So that is the first part of the marine spatial plan, milestone 1 to 5. And I want to say that when we're talking about carbon sequestration, we're talking about the land space as well. But interesting enough, as Minister who spoke before me alluded to, this sea space is about 400 plus times the size of our land space. So if we are able to increase our biodiversity under the ocean, you can understand the tremendous benefits it is as it relates to our fight. We can understand the increase and the improvement of our blue carbon sink. Right now, the blue carbon sink abstracts from the environment or sequesters about 20 to 25% of our carbon dioxide. The green environment, the same thing. That is why I will speak about our ability to plant more trees and do the same thing on our land space. Because 20 to 25% one way for the green, to the same thing happening in the blue economy as carbon sinks, that's only 50%. You have another 50% going in the atmosphere. That is the reality about it. So if we are able to improve, we are able to improve because the reality right now as it stands, we are only able to sequester about 400,000 tons or so, or maybe less, of the carbon dioxide that we produce yearly by our fossil fuel burning, because the Ministry of Energy will tell you that 1.6 million tons are produced alone by the Ministry of Energy or the energy sector. That is the reality of it. The rest is made up by the pesticides and what's not, and by chemicals being produced by methane from our landfills and the ruminants from the methane from the stomach and what's not. This is the reality that we are faced with. But I'm saying the first component of the Marine Spatial Plan will speak to milestone 1 to 5, and that deals with biodiversity. But it's not only biodiversity that we will be looking at over the next couple of years. We will be also looking at areas when we do our science and our research. Areas in the sea that could be used for wind energy. Areas that could be used for oil and gas. And as the Minister of Energy, Member of Parliament for St. James Central will tell us, that when this gas is found and we preserve it, it is for export purposes. It's for foreign exchange. That is the type of conversation you will be having. There are other areas in the sea which will be used for artisanal fishing. And the Member of Parliament for St. Michael South spoke about the fact that he, and using his marine managed area and the plans that he has done so far, that there have what you call now the FADs, fish aggregating devices, which are able to attract the fish, the smaller fish and the fishermen then can do their business by having that potential catch. This is what we have done so far. So there'll be areas demarcated with a proper marine spatial plan. That's what we are going to bring to the people of this country. There will be areas demarcated for fishing, for jet ski operation, for shipping, and the areas that you can understand that we will have dedicated for the purposes of shipping and docking, etc. We will have an area, Mr. Speaker, sir, that after the science, because now the world is focused. They have the visual acuity, some may call, for rare metals. And it is no secret that there are rare metals found at the bottom of the ocean, especially the Caribbean Ocean. That is why it's important that we start to look and do the investigation and to have a marine spatial plan that will be able to realize these things. Polymetallic nodules, that's what they call it, found at the bottom of the ocean with significant worth. That is the type of conversation we are having. So a marine spatial plan that will say, this is an area rich in these polymetallic nodules that we can get foreign exchange for when we are able to fully explore them. The type of conversation we need to have. Areas, for instance, where we will put aside to say, these are the areas for diving, recreation, or other ways. Areas, of course, where we were going to say, we are going to protect our species of fish. We know that the parrotfish is able, because of their ability in the digestive system, to rehabilitate our beaches. One parrotfish can deliver 960 pounds or so per year of sand on the beach to help us with the beach erosion. Some may call it accretion. Remember, part of Christ Church West, we know that a big word. Accretion, to build back the beach. And the parrotfish does it. That is why they're an important part of our biodiversity and why we have to preserve these things. So areas will be demarcated for the preservation of our species of fish. And then, of course, our reefs and our coral. These are the things that we will be having a conversation to Barbadians about. And these are important conversations to have now, because, as I said, the only way we will be able to mitigate and adapt to the vagaries of climate change is if we start looking not only at man-made interventions, but natural and land-based solutions as well when it relates to combating these vagaries. And to be able to keep our temperatures. The forecast is not good. It is not. If we continue on this trajectory, our sea levels will rise above, I think, last couple of years it rose to about 4 millimeters or so. By year 2050, guaranteed on this current trajectory, with the melting of the ice in the cryosphere, or the ice sphere, we will have a sea level rise about 15 inches or so to be predicted next 50 years. Killing off most of our beaches, our reefs, by our biodiversity. And of course, our sustainable livelihood for our fishermen. The reality of it, over the next 50 years, if we continue on this trajectory, it is scientific knowledge that, and that's why I say, an area must also be demarcated when we start to build up our marine spatial plan for the reefs and coral restoration, those areas. The reefs, the importance of the reefs, not only for the life of species and fish and the ability for them to live in an atmospheric ecosystem, but the reefs and the plants at the bottom of the ocean that live on these reefs. Scientists have now found that they produce something called sulfur dioxide surfactant, something that goes on the top of the ocean and helps to cool down the ocean. Now, where are the hurricanes and tsunamis formed? On the ocean, the surface of the ocean, propelled by the heat. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist now to understand the importance of the reef in terms of cooling the ocean. By releasing these surfactants, these cooling surfactants, the importance of the reef. So a marine spatial plan that takes this into consideration will be able to restore, because that's the next thing that we are going to be doing in the Ministry of the Environment, Green and Blue Economy, where we will look at a serious reef restoration program because we understand the importance of it. And then I cannot be talking about a marine spatial plan, talking about the hydrosphere, as lucid as I am, without speaking equally about the Grange, the perennial Grange, the megalgia, sargassum seaweed. It is a trend. It is a natural phenomenon. Some person related to the fact that its proliferation is directly and related to our sea level rise and the increased heat in the Atlantic Ocean, etc. But one thing I want to say today, because I believe that the increased proliferation also has to do with the anthropogenic behaviors of mankind. Not only Barbadians, and this is where I put on my serious environmental police hat. Not only Barbadians, but people across the world. When I say anthropogenic behavior, what do you mean? Dumping illegally in the sea. The overloading of nutrients in the sea provides a rich oasis, a habitat for the proliferation, growth, and development of sargassum seaweed. Bottom line, Bayesian talk. It is what is responsible alone with the sea level rise and the increase in heat and what's not. It is responsible for this growth of this perennial Grange that seek not only to interfere and obstruct the sustainable livelihoods of our fishermen, but our touristic product as well. And it's all over the Caribbean. Belize, Jamaica, you name it. They complain bitterly. So it's not a fight that is unique to us in Barbados, not an anomaly that is singularly focused on Barbados as a country. It is across the Caribbean. But I said, and the reason why I said it, and that's why I expect, and I know that the Member of Parliament for St. Philip South, my good friend, will work with those in the agriculture industry to ensure that we reduce our pesticides. And that's why we can talk about the land-based solutions to combat the vagaries of climate change. To reduce our pesticides using phytopharmaceuticals, now natural products, instead of these harmful pesticides and additional POPs, processed organic pollutants, and all these things that will find their way into the sea, causing all the problems. The fertilizers that find their way into the sea The illegal dumping, because when you dump illegal in gullies and you have heavy rainfall, it ends up in the ocean. It is causing the overloading of nutrients in the ocean. And the reason why I say so, I ain't say so because I have a whimsical exercise with that thing that operates in the atmospheric realm. I am saying so because it is based on scientific evidence. We were able, thanks to the government of New Zealand, and my minister colleague that sat in the blue seat before me, sometimes it turned red. But what I'm saying, we had a conversation with those persons in New Zealand. We had a conversation with the experts to do some tests on the sea, sargassum seaweed. And they acquiesced and started doing testing. They tested in the Eastern Caribbean. Barbados, of course, was chosen. We did some tests in the western part of the Caribbean, Belize, if I got my geography right. Then we did some tests in Central Caribbean, Jamaica, so that we can find out what are the constituents in the sargassum seaweed. That is what we did, to find out what are the active components in the sargassum seaweed. And this is what the test revealed. And I'm not surprised because I said the seaweed that we see there are the biggest sequesters in the marine space. What I mean by that, seaweed is able to abstract more carbon dioxide than most marine plants. So this Grinch that we are talking about, this mega algae that everybody's complaining about, what it is doing in the ocean, that it is taking up those harmful things that exist in the same ocean. And why these things exist in the ocean? Because mankind continue to pollute the ocean. Simple as that. So the seaweed is probably saving us. The reality of it. Because just how the body reacts in a home must start it there. So too does the ocean. You overload the ocean with a lot of chemicals, and lo and behold, the one thing that is produced by the ocean that is a nuisance has the ability to sequester these chemicals from the same sea and the marine environment. Mind you, the same seaweed, which has about 10 times the potential to sequester or remove carbon dioxide than normal marine flora and some phytoplankton that live at the bottom of the ocean, this same sargassum, because of its ability to abstract things, abstract carbon dioxide too. So when we talk about ocean acidity that is a threat, now when you abstract carbon dioxide, you're bringing an alkaline environment to the ocean. So what I'm saying is that although it is seen as a proverbial enemy of the sea, there is some potential usage of it. And it is saving us because what the New Zealand government brought back with their tests shows that it has the seaweed, sargassum seaweed had high levels of arsenic, of cadmium higher than international levels. Cadmium, we had mercury, and other heavy metals. And what I told Barbadians immediately after, to stop putting it on your plants, stop using it for your agricultural purposes, because the test results were back and it confirmed that these levels were higher than normal. And so the ministry, utilizing the physical workforce, obviously not manual, mechanical equipment because of the beach being preserved, we have men employed on a daily basis to remove it and carry it and decompose it in a safe area, which is non-porous and will not get into our water supply or into our plant life or what's not. Because when it gets into those, the plants and the fruits and vegetables, it comes into our palates and into our digestive system. That is the reality of it all. But what does that tell us? It tells us that the sea is being polluted by the same things, and all the sargassum is doing is removing it. So the clarion call for me today as minister is to tell all Barbadians to be careful how they pollute, because they may come back to haunt you. When you are taking your garbage and throwing it in the gullies, thankfully we had a ban on plastics I believe that my minister, the minister that sat in this seat before me, a ban on plastics. I didn't want, I mean, this is nothing that you talk about the government. Kurt talked about this, the member of parliament for St. Michael, so he's my good friend. I like to call him, I call him Hurricane Kurt because we thought speaking about bad weather. Tropical storm Kurt. I am talking about the member of parliament for St. Michael South, who was able single-handedly to lead the ban on single-use petrol-based plastics. Recognized by UNEA when we went to Nairobi as one of the most the single greatest achievement by a small island developing state to be able to lead the charge and banning petrol-based plastics in this country. And that is something that I think we should be proud of. That is something we should be proud of. Countries all over the world can't get it done. Huh? And we were recognized as a country, a small island developing state, led by the member of parliament for St. Michael Northeast. There's a saying that they want. Something said, you call upon a man, a hormonal man. When you want something done, you call on a lady. Barbarians made a call, and we are doing what we're supposed to do. That's the saying. I see some ladies in here smiling. What I'm saying is that it shows that our behavior, and if we continue with this behavior of polluting the sea, thankfully we don't have the plastics that can cause the dioxins to come into our digestive system, because when the plastic the microparticles are digested by the fish end up here on the tables of ordinary Barbadians. We love fish. We love fish. We eat fish. It's part of the sustainable livelihood of the fishermen. So I'm saying we have to put the brakes now on illegal dumping. Simple as that. We have to put the brakes on illegal dumping. I just showed the correlation between what happens on the land, how it gets into the sea, and the results thereof. The ocean is crying out for help. We are crying out for fresh water. We are crying out for the rehabilitation of the reefs. That's the reality of it. So a marine spatial plan will seek to demarcate those areas and ensure the sustainable existence of those areas so that it can benefit us in a social way, and an economical way, and in a way that is able to preserve the environment. But I want to go on further, and to my last area. We also say that there will be a Barbados environmental sustainable fund. A fund, and these are the things that are happening. This is a deal, they call it the New Deal and the Beijing deal, man. I don't have a problem if you associate us with these. The real deal. And the New Deal and the real deal for Barbadians is that we are, for the first time, never happened before, things that only some persons would imagine if they have the creative imagination of some of our young persons. We are now, since June the 22nd of this year, and we are now in the process of rolling out that which was finalized in June 22nd of this year. A Barbados environmental sustainable fund. And what does that do? And what does it consist of? I heard the member of parliament who spoke before me thought about the constituents of the fund. What is it made of? Who are the persons, the active players involved? And just briefly, we have 3 founder members. The government of Barbados, of course, Nature Conservancy, and UWI, which is the Research Institute. Those are the founding members of the fund. The ordinary directors, Ministry of Environment, which is my ministry, of course, Ministry of Tourism and International Transport, Finance, Economic Affairs. We have the institutions that respond, NGOs. Barnufo, which represents the union that represents the fisher folk. we have the Barbados Chamber of Commerce. CYEN, the Caribbean Youth, and those are the Caribbean Youth Environment Network. The network, the group that I spoke to, I addressed yesterday. This is how this trust fund, or this environmental sustainable fund will be constituted. And what does it do? It allows government, without costing the taxpayers a cent in this country, the ability to be able to get funds. And I want to say that benefactors will be coming in their numbers when they see what we are doing to preserve the environment. They will be titillated by the fact that for the first time, something that has never been done before in terms of marine spatial plan being built out, they will see the work of the government and say to themselves, I want to be part of having land-based solutions to combat the vagaries of climate change. I want to be part of having environmental solutions. I want to be a part for us as a country to be able to preserve our wetlands and our biodiversity, special protected areas of wetlands and our biodiversity. I want to be able to say that as a Ramsar site, we are going to contribute to the ecological development of greenhouse swamp, and they can put such and such money. That is what the fund is going to be used for. And according to the member that spoke before me, the fund is not going into the consolidated fund. It's not something that government can touch. It is there where the environmental board, with the founding members, will decide the environmental projects, the sustainable environmental projects that will be fleshed out with the money. I spoke just now about our special protected areas or wetlands. We have one site that is recognized by Ramsar, and that is the Graham-House site as an ecosystem with wetlands, and it has a mixture of all the active principles. Biodiversity was not. But we are no train. We are on the threshold now to have Long Pond as the next recognized site for Ramsar. There's one in Chancery Lane which understands that the interfuse between a wetland or a water deposit and a natural environment. That is one in Chancery Lane. But Long Pond, what we just recognize, and I want all Barbadians to hear, that's why I say that it must be an unequivocal, unbridled, and unashamed trust to build up our biodiversity. Because what we found in Long Pond over the last couple of months is that there is an indigenous crab never found in any place in the world, only in Long Pond. A crab endemic to Long Pond. And they don't have to sit down. I would get vocal from here talking about the use in terms of our biodiversity and the importance of our ecosystem as it relates to crabs. And somebody tell me, the member of parliament said to me from St. Philip South, tell me put in some shrimp. You probably get that a lot in St. Philip and other decapods. But we can go on and go on. We could go on and on. I said if I start to talk about these things, my throat will start to hurt me, vocal fry, call it. But I want to say that along with building out those things, we are saying to Barbadians, and this is another area that we can have persons investing in, the planting of our trees. 1 million trees. I must tell Barbadians that I'm over 400,000 thus far. Albeit that we had the challenges with COVID and the lockdowns and whatnot, and the fact that we are one of the 15 most drought-prone countries in the world. About 400,000+ trees. And I want to remind Barbadians that this month is the month of Arbor Month, and we will have a national tree planting competition again this year to plant more trees and understand the importance of it. That is a conversation for another time. But persons who want to invest in these things can come and say, well, you are a country, you have started the drive, we are going to put some funds so you can build up this. And of
Honourable
course,
has 5 more minutes.
thank you, Mr. Speaker. And of course, our botanical garden and natural oasis again. Then our water conservation and how we treat the water conservation in a natural way. I said already, and this shit don't need to be flagged by me, but our Roof to Reef project is the best sustainable development project in the world. I say so, and I'm not holding back this red flag. It is the best and the most efficient sustainable development project in the world. It is able, if you look at it, and you look at the 17 sustainable development goals, probably about 15, we have reached about 15 in the Roof to Reef. About 15. Albeit that peace and equal rights and different things. But what he's saying is that, I mean, empower women and the Roof to Reef project, because domesticated workers and things will become part of this whole water reuse and how we treat the domestic workers, washing clothes and everything. They will be empowered in this whole exercise. So to me, it is able to realize about 15 or 17 of the sustainable development goals. But not only that, our project that seeks to protect us from the soil erosion that we are faced with. And the minister responsible, my friend from St. Philip South, will tell you that he has started a hedgerow project all throughout the length and breadth of this country, especially rural Barbados, to stop the erosion along with the Gabions and in terms of root architecture, so that we won't have the erosion that we are having. Because it's all right to build these fancy roads and different things, all fine and good with the compliant project. But you must be able to stop the erosion, because if you build a road and you still get land slippage, the road will slip away, whether you know our road. Bottom line. So these are the things that we are talking about. Desertification, the ability to combat soil erosion, and the ability to reforest the country. If we are able to improve our green carbon sink, then we are able to take more carbon dioxide, that harmful leading greenhouse gas, out the atmosphere. There are a lot of things, Mr. Speaker, sir, that I can speak about in terms of our, how the Barbados Environmental Sustainable Trust will protect our whole persons can become involved in terms of putting funds, and as the member that spoke before me, putting money where their mouths are. There are a lot of projects, of course. I thought about the water and the water reuse project, how we can have to increase our structures so that instead of the water rain run off into the hydrosphere or the sea and causing problems, that we'll be able to ensure that there is the movement of water to the aquifers, that there's proper damming, that there's proper conservation, that our biodiversity, and they will bring the biodiversity action plan in the not too distant future, because I believe that Barbados is already laid in Parliament, and they will come and they will elucidate as long as they could, as long as you give me permission, sir, so that Barbados will understand the importance of preserving our biodiversity. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you look around this room, we operate in a biodiverse parliament. You are not the same as the member who sits immediately in front of you or at the side of you, left or right. All we have our different characteristics. And the animals, the plants, every one of them. But they operate with those different characteristics for the benefit of the environment. And it is their movement, the ability to live, the ability to feed, drink, eat, sleep, the way how they shape their bodies and what. All these things make up the ecological space. All we are saying as a government, that we will do every single thing in our power to ensure the sustainability not only of the environment, but as a member who spoke before me, who spoke so limpidly, so translucently, like the water now you're getting in St. Peter. Before that, he was getting brown water. Under the last decade. Though the member that spoke before me, it redounds to the sustainable development of livelihoods. Most important, because I will not go and repeat a maxim that is coined by my good friend, but people matter over politics. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to close by saying that there is an irreversible, unequivocal, unbridled sometimes, gamos between us and the sea. And if you look at the relationship, you just have to understand it. We often speak about the blood, sweat, and tears, man. You will operate Minister spoke about the blood, sweat, and tears that he went through to get this passed. The one that the member part of Christ Church Essential said the same thing. Blood, sweat, and tears. But you know what is the constant with the blood, sweat, and tears? Salt. Blood, God, and salt, man. Sweat, salt. Tears, salt. And they want to say that the sea is full of salt. There is an irreversible gamut and association with the sea, whether we like it or not, because all of them are operating in a salty environment. Mr. Speaker, with those few words, I want to thank you, and I want to commend the minister and to give my full unreserved support to these two pieces of resolution. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that further consideration of this bill be postponed.
Question is that further consideration of this resolution be postponed. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to give notice of a resolution to approve in accordance with Section 5 of the Crown Lands Vesting and Disposal Act, Cap 225, the vesting in the Barbados Tourism Investment, Inc., of a parcel of land, the property of the state, together with the building thereon, known as the Treasury Building, situated at Bridge Street in the parish of St. Michael in this island for the purpose of residential development. I also give notice, Mr. Speaker, of a resolution to extend the public health emergency.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of the House until 2:20 p.m.
Question is that this honourable chamber be suspended until 2:20 p.m. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This honourable chamber stands suspended until 2:20 p.m.